Hi, I'm Luke. I'm the founder of Friend, and I was literally driving the other day on the road, and I met Enzo on the street right over there, and he obviously owns a Lectric Bike, and we went through the differences, and I'm going to let him take it from there and tell you the differences.
Hi, how are you today? You know, I really wanted to try an electric bike. I've been riding bicycles or motorcycles my whole life, and you know, the Friend bike is really neat because it has shocks, and I kind of wish that I had gotten a bike with shocks. Now that I've got about 200 miles on this bike, I've noticed how much of a difference that shocks would make. Because the bike weighs, you know, 60 pounds, if you're coming off of a curb, it feels like a regular bike until that moment where you realize that there's a lot more weight behind the bike itself. Not only have they gone and put front shocks on, but they've got a really nice linkage here that reminds me of something you would see on one of my enduro motorcycles. Also, Luke tells me that they've got a 750 watt motor as opposed to the 500 I have here. This is adequate, but I feel like I would definitely like a little more punch. And I feel like probably the motor would be straining less if it had a little more wattage. The other things that I was noticing is the mag wheels, which not only do they look good, but they're not going to need to be trued eventually. And lately, being at the bike shop, is having somebody do any work is not cheap. Probably $30 or $40 an hour to have somebody work on your e-bike to true the wheels, and that will need to be done eventually, where here you don't have to have that done ever. And they look a little easier to clean. I've also noticed he's got a bigger headlight, which definitely comes in handy. It looks more beefy. I'm not sure what the wattage output is compared to this one, but it does look to be larger and has a glass lens instead of this little plastic. His bike comes with a bell, and I had to buy a bell. You have to have that too, because these bikes are so quiet. If you're riding in a crowded spot, you know, you're just tweaking the little throttle here. It's easy to maneuver, but people don't hear you, and you really want to let somebody know you're there so you don't have an accident. Again, I bought this shock seat thinking it would help, but the fact is, whenever I'm really going to approach, like coming off of a curb or there's a big pothole, I generally stand up like I would in a motorcycle, and so that seat's not doing me any good. And all of that transference of energy is coming straight up the solid fork into these very non-cushioned handlebars, and it can be jarring. I tweaked my wrist good the other day, so I think that if you're gonna be choosing and it's just a tiny bit more money, definitely go with the bigger motor, the better wheels, and the most important is the shocks, having that to absorb it, because I don't think anybody's gonna be just lowering the tire pressure and then putting it back in and taking it out. And that's how these bikes without shocks work, is if you want this to be ridden on a trail, you need to take almost half the air out of the tires. Whereas here, you just do it. You don't have to think about it. Just
Enzo, I appreciate this. Thank you very much for coming back. And I know I offered you coffee and a bagel and only gave you coffee. So
that's okay. That's all right. Well, I'll tell you, maybe we'll just swap out bikes.
All right. Hey, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.